You are welcome to the Madhouse TV mathematics class. Today, we are going to take a new topic, and that is what? Change of subject formula. Change of subject formula. What is a formula? A formula is a mathematical equation having letters, symbols that represent a given value used to solve a given problem. We say that a formula is a mathematical what? Equation having letters or symbols that represent a given value used to solve a particular mathematical problem. For example, we are going to look at various formulas. Let me look at one formula. Area of what? Rectangle. The formula for the area of a rectangle A is given as what? L times what? B. This is the area of a rectangle. So you can see that A stands for area. We have the equality sign. L stands for length. And B stands for what? Breadth. This is an example of a formula. We can also have another example of a formula. The length of an arc. Length of an arc. L is theta all over 360 times 2 pi r. Now you can see that for this formula we have letters, we also have symbols, and we have numbers. Theta is a symbol representing what? A given angle. Pi here is a symbol that represents a number which is 22. 22 over 7. And arrow here is a letter that represents the radius of a circle. We can also have another simple interest. Simple interest. I is given as what? PRT all over 100. Now, these given formulas, they are used to solve one mathematical problem or one problem in science or the other. So we say that a formula is a mathematical equation that contains either letters, symbols that represent a given value to solve problems. Formulas can also contain what? Figures or numbers. Like we have here 360. We have 2. We also have here PRT divided by what? 100. 100 here is a what? A figure, a number. I here stands for simple interest. P stands for principle. R stands for rate. And T stands for time. So this is actually what a formula is. We are talking about change of subject formula. Now we are going to look at what is the meaning of the subject of a formula. What is the subject? What is the subject of a formula? What is the subject of a formula? The subject of a formula is the letter or the symbol that is standing alone on its own in one side of the equation in the formula given to you. So the letter or the symbol that stands alone in the formula is called the subject of the formula. For example, the subject of this formula, A is equal to L times B, is A, because A is standing alone on one side of the equation, while all other letters are on the other side of the equality sign. In our formula length of an arc here, the subject of the formula is L. L is standing alone on one side of the equation, while every other letter, symbol and numbers, they stand on the other side. And in our formula for simple interest, I is the subject of the formula. I is the subject of the formula. Now, we are looking at change of subject formula. We've known what the subject of the formula is now. We can also rearrange a formula to change its subject. We can also rearrange a formula to change its subject so that we can make another letter to stand alone in the formula to become the new subject. That is what we refer to as what? Change of the subject what? Formula. Now, we are going to look at basic principles to change the subject of a formula. Basic what? Principles to change the subject of a formula. We are going to look at 6 basic principles that we use in changing the subject of a formula. 6 basic principles we are going to use in changing the subject of a formula. And I'm going to do that with examples. Basic principle 1. A. And let me take a subject formula. D is equal to what? B plus C. We have an equation. D is equal to B plus C as our first principle. If we want to make our C the subject, or want to make our B the subject, what do? Because C and B, they are separated by an addition sign here. If we are making B the subject, let's say make B subject. Make B subject. Make B subject formula. In our first principle, we are simply saying that when a value is to be made the subject and they are connected by a positive sign, to move it to the other side of the equation, what do? We subtract the letter that we are moving from one side of the equation to the other. So here we want to make B subject formula. We are going to remove C from this place. And because C is what? Connected by a positive sign, we are going to subtract C from both sides of the equation. So we now say, subtract C from both sides of the equation. We have D minus C is equal to what? B plus C minus C. They cancel off. So we now have what? B now is equal to what? D minus C. This simply means, in ordinary terms, we say that when a letter crosses the equality sign, its sign changes. Because C is carrying positive here, the sign changes to what? Minus when it comes to the other side. Conventionally, the subject of a formula, we usually put it at the left hand side. You can see that is why I now place the B here now. So when we say D minus C is equal to B, it's the same thing as saying what? B is equal to what? D minus C. We're going to take another as a second principle. Let me look at a work. R is equal to L minus D. And here we are going to do what? We are going to make L subject formula. Make L subject formula. Now the second principle here is that when a value is separated by a negative sign, when it's crossing the equality, what happens? It turns to what? Positive. That simply means what? If we want to carry a value or a letter to the other side of the equation that is carrying a negative sign, we are going to add that value to both sides. So we are simply saying add D to both sides of the equation, and that gives us what? R plus D is equal to L minus D plus D. So minus D plus D, we cancel off each other. So what do we have left? R plus D is equal to what? L. So our subject L is equal to R plus what? D. So we have made L the subject of the formula. We are going to look at the third principle. For the third principle, we are considering values that are product multiplying themselves. When two or more letters are multiplying themselves, what do? To move them to the other side of the equation, we use that letter to divide both sides. Principle number 3. Let me look at, we have L is equal to 2db minus C. L equal to 2db minus C. And here we want to make, we say what? Make B what? Subject. We are going to make B subject what? Formula. We want to make our B subject formula. But B is multiplying our D and 2 here in this equation. So what do? First, our C here is separated with a negative. So we are going to do what? Let's look at the solution. Solution. L is equal to what? 2db minus C. So we are going to move C. Because C is negative here. When it crosses the equality sign, it becomes what? Plus. So we now have what? L plus C is equal to 2d what? B. Now for our third principle, we says what? When values are multiplying, to remove them to the other side of the equation, you divide. So let's divide. We are going to divide both sides of the equation by 2d. So we now have what? L plus C divided by 2d is equal to what? 2db divided by 2d. 2d we cancel out 2d. So what do we have left? We now have what? Therefore, our b is equal to what? L plus C all over what? 2d. Our third principle. We are going to look at principle in changing the subject of a formula. When a value is dividing another value, to move it from one side of the equation, we multiply both sides by that value or by that letter. Now let's look at this. X is equal to D all over K. X is equal to D all over K. And we want to do what? We want to make what? D subject. Make D subject what? Formula. K is dividing D in this place. So for us to make D subject to stand alone, we are going to put K the divisor, or we call it what? The denominator. So we are going to use K to multiply both sides of the equation. So let's go. Solution. X is equal to what? D all over K. So we are multiplying both sides by K. We are going to have what? S times K equal to what? D times K all over what? K. So K we cancel out. So what do we have? XK is equal to D. Therefore, D is equal to what? SK. We are going to look at principle number 5. Principle number 5, here we are considering values that are raised to a given power. When a value is raised to a given power, to change it, to make it the subject of the formula, we are going to find the root, the nth root of the other side of the equation based on the power of the other. Now let's look at that. Let's say we have L raised to power n is equal to D K. And here we want to do what? We want to make L subject. Make L subject what? Formula. We are going to make our L subject formula. But what do we have? We have L raised to power n. So to make L the subject here, we are going to look for the nth root of the other side. So solution, L raised to power n is equal to dk. So our L becomes what? The nth root of what? dk. The nth root of dk. What does this simply mean? I'm going to use illustrations. What does this simply mean? I'm going to use some illustrations. For example, e.g., if we have L raised to power 2 equal to what? dk, we now have what? L will now be equal to what? Square root of dk. Because this is squared here, you now find what? The square root in the other side. That is an illustration. For example, if we have L raised to power 3 equal to dc, it therefore means that our L will now be equal to what? The cube root of dc. So what do you see? You discover that because here is cube raised to power 3, we'll find the cube root of the other side. That's what we say the nth root. Let's take another one. Let's say, for example, we have C, L raised to power 4 is equal to what? BD. So to find our L will now become what? The fourth root. Becomes the fourth root. The fourth root of BD. That is how you change the subject formula when you have a value in index form. So because it is in the power of 4, you find the fourth root. If it's in the power of 3, you find the third root, or what we call the cube root. If it's in the power of 2, you find the square root. If it's in the power of 5, you find the fifth root. Then we are going to look at our last principle, principle number 6. When a value or a letter or symbol is in a root form, how do we change the subject? When a letter is in a root form, let's give an example. Square root of A is equal to 2k. And here we want to do what? Make a what? Subject. A what? The subject what? Formula. Solution. If we are making our A subject, we see that when a value is in a root, what happens? To make it the subject formula, you make the other side, you square the other side, or you raise it to the power of the root. So because this root here is a square root, you are going to do what? Square the other side. So we now have what? Root A equal to what? 2k. Our A will now be what? Equal to what? 2k raised to the power of what? 2. E.g., let me give another. So let's say we have A. Cube root of B is equal to KC. If we want to make, let's say we are making B subject. Making B subject what? Formula. If we are making B subject formula, How do we pull the cube root here? We make the other side to become what? Raised to the power of what? 3. So our b becomes what? B is equal to what? Kc raised to the power of what? 3. So what is the principle? We can simply state it as this. In summary, we can simply state that if the nth root of A is equal to B, therefore our A will now be equal to what? B raised to power n. This is the principle 6. Whenever you want to pull the root, we make the other side the power of what? The particular root. So this is how we carry out what? Change of subject formula. Watch the next class as we look at various questions on change of subject formula. Thank you.